Real excited to have back one of my favorite guests, Marty Stevens-Heebner of Clear Home Solutions. And she says the key at the end of the move-in process for moving your parents is to still be on speaking terms. I said to her, well, I'm just working on being on speaking terms with my wife, let alone parents and customers. But that sounds like a pretty big order here, staying and helping your parents move out of their house into senior living or wherever the next phase is, and staying on speaking terms with them. What's the key to that?
The key is shocking, really great communication
Oh my
and
gosh.
compassion. It's a combination. It's every so often somebody says, to me, I can't get my dad to stop driving. He needs to stop driving. He's too old, he's not safe out there. And I'll say, well, have you tried talking with him about it? Yes. Okay. Well, how did you go about? What'd you say? Well, I told him he has to stop driving. I said, well, here's another way to go about that.
Uh,
Because one of the things that I say in the book is that your parents, when you try to tell them to do something, they see you and they remember that they used to change your diapers. So
yes.
just remember that. How could you possibly know more than they do? Because they used to change your diapers. So it's important to kind of think about first where are they coming from, and to kind of gently ease into it. And in terms of, for example, the car, the keys to the car, just say, how are you feeling about getting around now? I mean, there are other ways to get around. You don't have to drive. You kind of earn the right not to have to drive. Let somebody else be your chauffeur. You could call Lyft or Uber. There are other ways to go about
Waymo?
this. Waymo, Waymo, exactly. In some cities, yes. And so why not take advantage of that? And this way too, because God forbid you're in an accident and there's no witnesses or whatever, they're gonna have you as the main suspect only because of your age. And I know that's not fair, but let's really think about this. And so, when you start coming at it from their point of view, it's like your insurance rates would go up, and they probably already have gone up. I mean, how can we make this easier? And honestly, why do you even want to? I don't want to drive. And actually, in truth, Bill, I would love to have I would love to have somebody else drive me. I want other stuff to do. I want to even enjoy the scenery or nap. But I could be making phone calls. I could be reading books and stuff like that. So yeah, it's important to, when you're talking about when the time comes and your parents are thinking about moving out of that home they've been in for a long time into, whether it's assisted living or they're moving closer to you, or they're just downsizing. It's like the house is too big to take care of. Let's move into a 2-bedroom condo, something like that. This is a huge shift for them. It's actually not just a huge shift for them. It's a big shift in the life of the entire family. Because I literally had one client say to me out loud, she said, I feel like I'm moving to the place I'm going to die.
Right. I've heard that several times. That's kind
Yeah.
of like, ooh.
Yeah. And I remember I probably audibly gulped when she said that, this one client. And the worst thing you can say is like, oh no, it's going to be great there. They'll cook the food. They'll do this. Don't deny their emotions. That's the worst thing you can do to anybody. I mean, think how it feels to you. How would you feel if somebody said, "Oh no, you don't need to feel that. Oh no, you shouldn't feel that way." Of course you're feeling that way. Because part of them knows that, the end of their life is a lot closer than the beginning of it, and this could be their last move ever. So it's important to keep that in mind, so that if you don't want to sit there and suddenly just bring up, it's time for you to move to assisted living. You need to move. You need to go somewhere, because that's shocking, and you're not considering what they're confronting inevitably, at least subconsciously. They're already feeling like they're losing a bit of control, simply because their bodies aren't working the way they used to, things like that. People may be ignoring them, when they ask for help in stores or whatever. So it's important to keep that in mind. Also, for adult children, remember, this is really affecting you too. Because when there's the term sandwich generation. There's also now the term, I don't know if you've heard it, Bill, the club sandwich generation, because there are often great grandparents who are still around, because people are living into their hundreds. So it's not that unusual anymore. But when you're in the sandwich generation, you've got your kids that you're worrying about. And now all of a sudden, this shift has happened where you have to be looking out for your parents, whether they want you to or not. And that's a lot of added responsibility, because I think I know from my own experience, when my mom died when she was only 58, so I was only 26, but dad made it to 90. And when that shift started to happen, where, okay, I got to keep an eye on this. I got to keep an eye on him and talk to him about these later life things as gently as possible. That it's kind of like a support fell out from my structure. Because, somewhere inside us, subconsciously, the parent was always the one we could turn to. And now actually they have to turn to us for some things. And also it reminded me that he's going to be gone. And, it makes you face their mortality, your own mortality, etc. Now, I wish as a culture, we face mortality more and recognize that there's an end to this one way or another. Because honestly, once I just wound up doing that, every day I'm up and around and, can wake up and get out of bed. It's a great day because I'm still here. Yeah. So that's important, but we don't want to talk about that end. And so it's this scary, undefined, kind of terrifying piece of life. And we need to talk more about that in a way that's compassionate with those who are older than us. That's a very long-winded answer. Sorry.
You're saying this, and frankly, what I'm hearing is what I would call a lot of good fundamentals of communication, right? Affirm other people's feelings, give them room to talk, ask questions. And as a real estate, broker, and I've coached, thousands of agents, I feel like I'm really good at this with customers. I'm not as good at this with my own family, my own wife, and it's because once you start talking to your parents, or once you start talking to your children, all that other stuff comes in that kind of clouds your, well, why should I have to speak like that to my own parent or my own child or my own spouse? Because you have to. Good communication is good communication. And when we let all that baggage from the past get in the middle of it, it just makes a difficult conversation a lot more difficult.
Oh, and almost combative sometimes. I mean, here's the thing. When we come in and start working with our clients from Clear Home Solutions and helping people start the moving process, it's not unusual to have the adult kids hear us say something they've been saying so many times over and over again to their parents.
Yes.
And their parents respond by saying, oh, that's a great idea. Like those words have never entered their ears before. And I remember going through this with my own dad.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
It's because your family members have the family filter in place.
Exactly.
Parent to child, parent, spouse to spouse. You're going to butt heads. It's a fact of life. And that's when having professionals at times working with you, a neutral third party, can help a lot, even a friend. Somebody who trusts, that can be very, very helpful to get them to hear and actually take in what you've been trying to tell them. There's just such a long history there, and it's complicated, and it's decades long, and it's family. It's normal. But within the family, if you can really first try to see it from the other person's point of view and think and kind of address their concerns as you're bringing it up, and really let them talk about what they're feeling about it, and invite them to ask questions too.
The more they talk, the more you win. I keep in my office, it's kind of blocked right now. Look kind of down below a chess clock, an old style chess clock where you have two clocks, and the way it worked was you make your move, push the timer, the other person's time's running, then they push their timer, it goes on yours. And for me, it's a metaphor to remind me that when I'm in a sales environment, when I'm working with a customer, the more they talk, the more I win. We think the more words we put out, we're better. But the truth is there's nothing that we're ever going to say that's going to convince somebody as much as their own discovery of what's going on.
Yeah, beautifully put.
And with parents or family members, I assume they listen to me. They don't listen to anything. I tell people this all the time. Your kids don't listen to a word you say. They watch everything you do and take notes and hold it against you, right? But they don't listen to anything you say, ever. I guess your parents are probably the same. I never told me that one, but now it makes sense. My parents are both gone. But now that I look back and go, yeah, They never listen to me. Why? Because you say because they changed my diapers. No, they're just family. Family doesn't listen to you. They watch you. My daughter, she doesn't listen to a word I say, still to this day. But she watches me, and as a result, I have a chance to influence her.
That's beautifully put. That's a really great point to make. And the thing is, too, with your parents, they saw you. Look, when you're growing up, you make mistakes. It is part of the natural process of growing up. We learn from our mistakes. That's where that adage comes from. And so they saw you make all those mistakes and they remember them. So I think part of it is they kind of want to protect you too. I think that's a little bit what's going on too. Right. But it's really important to try to think of it from their point of view, especially thinking of it that they know they're getting older and they know they're losing some control. And it's frightening whether they admit that consciously or not, it's there. And so if you really start having these conversations, and it's not just the conversation as in singular, it is many conversations.
Oh, it's the relationship. That whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, that whole thing. Okay, yes. No, you're right. Of course, with a customer, we see that, right? We're in business. Of course, our customer has multiple conversations over time, and they need their time to come to a conclusion. But it's your parent, like, hey, I told you should move into the nursing home. Why are they moving already? Why are they packing? I told you. I sent you a text. Didn't you get it? Oh my gosh! This is it's funny.
Yeah. And I've often heard people say, I can't get them to talk about it. I can't get them to talk to me about the estate plan or if they have a will or anything. You won't talk to me. Or their idea of a plan is like, well, I'm going out feet first. And so that's, again, when you just saying, start talking about your own situation. Because adult children are adults and many have their own children. And you can just say, I've decided I need to start talking to my kids about, because, I could have a car wreck and be gone. And I'm realizing I've got to do my estate plan and everything. Do you have suggestions for me? Because, I'm your kid, you're my parent. I mean, what's the best way for me? How should I approach this with them? Like, ask them for advice for yourself.
Right.
Because that starts opening up that door. Because, certainly my parents were happy to give me advice, and Lord knows I don't have kids, but I'm happy to give anybody advice like I am now, actually.
Yeah, I don't have to take the advice. I'm glad to give advice. I'm not good at receiving or following advice. I'm not good at giving advice. I'm an expert. Like I have great advice on how to be a great husband. I don't do any of it, but I have a lot of advice on what men should do to be a great husband.
There you go. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do some of it, at least. But
occasionally by accident, I bump into something, right? But no, I think that's a. But again, I think it's always easy to talk about things. It's much harder to actually live them. I think you're right that it was a time I really wanted to find out about we have one child. She's married, thank God, and has a great husband. And just wanted to find out, like, do they have a plan in place? They have 2 grandkids now I have with them and a third on the way. And the best way to talk about with them is to say, well, here's what I've done. I have this trust. I have this. My documents are here. My passwords are here. My key to the safe is here. And so then all of a sudden they would say, well, gee, we don't need that, but we have this, we have that, we have this, we have that. Great. Now we know where we're at.
Yeah. Again, just when in doubt, go to compassion and empathy. Ask them how they're doing. What do they think? Well, I know. It's like, I don't have time for this. Let me just tell you what you're doing. You just go do it. I don't have time.
Yeah, so my parents just shut up and do it. It doesn't work that
well,
way.
and the thing, exactly. And think of this also as a chance to get to know the parents' stories more. Yes, they will tell you a couple of those stories you've heard a zillion times already. I remember, it's like, I kind of, I have to be honest, Bill, I'm actually here saying, do as I say, not as I did.
Exactly. I'm with you 100% there. I'm the king of do as I say, not as I did.
Yeah, because I did shut my father down, but it was before my experience working with, over 12 years, working with older adults and their families. Just like you have so much experience, you start to see it. And we go, it's like, oh God, I wish I hadn't done that. But, get those stories now because I know, especially with my mother dying when she was only 58, there have been over these decades so many things I would have loved to have asked her, and
Yes.
those are gone. Especially now with my dad gone, all of that is gone.
Yeah.
No collecting it. So this is a chance to really enjoy these, what will end up being final years with your parents. And again, you never know what can happen. So yeah, talking about yourself, listen, talk less, listen more. All of that. And, sometimes maybe, it's interesting, Bill, with what you're saying about how it's so much easier to do with clients, maybe kind of put yourself in that role. Well, what if I'm talking to a client and who's difficult to persuade? So how would I go about this? And do your best to kind of be in that role. It's hard, but if you can, at least start that way. And just remember, it's a series of conversations. Don't expect to come home, visit your parents on summer vacation and have it all solved by the time you go home. It's not going to happen, right?
So the relationship takes time and work.
How about that?
There's no magic pill. Can I just get a pill? Can you give me a pill and just solve all that for me, please?
Well, you and I both know, and I'm not trying to sell services to people, but especially when it feels intractable, or when you literally don't have time. Bringing in a professional who's really good at what they do, you can kind of delegate it and have them help you handle the situation. You're still going to have to work at it. But sometimes having the professionals come in, they will listen to things from us that they have been ignoring from you. So that in addition to bringing our own expertise, like realty expertise, which is so important. So
when I bring in professionals to help, I'm going to admit some guilt here. The goal in real estate is to keep the parties from warring, because so often dysfunctional families want to use the probate process as the civil war they never fought, and war breaks out over the house. So if I can keep it together on the house, obviously what's left to fight over if you have a dysfunctional relationship is all the stuff. So that the stuff people say, good luck with all that.
Oh, and you know what they fight over? They fight over the broken jewelry box that was grandma's. It barely closes. The little doll doesn't spring up and dance anymore. You can try to crank the music, doesn't work, but it was grandma. That's what they'll fight over. Something sentimental. Yeah. Something sentimental. Dad's reading glasses that he stopped using 20 years ago. And again, the advice, of course, for you and I, whether they're fighting over the house or they're fighting over some item, is to realize that what's going on is something so much deeper. It's the grief in that case, because someone has passed away. And to a degree, when you're dealing with your older parents and trying to help them move, it's an ending with that house. So it's a kind of death, if you will. Like a divorce is. I mean, it's the end of something very profound and deep. I mean, they lived in that home, even if it's just 5 years, that's been home for them. And they lived their complete lives there. It's housed their museum of memories. So it's important to keep those things in mind. It's a big deal. I mean, frankly, you and I both know moving sucks, and pardon me, but it stinks at any age. I don't call it relocation. I call it dislocation, because you're going to feel out of joint till you're settled in the new place for at least a month. And sometimes it takes up to 6 months, because you need to get to know the new neighborhood. Same thing. A senior living community is a neighborhood, and your parents need to get to know it. And it's great if you help them get to know it. That's another thing, because then you know it too. And, sometimes you can, also the people who work at the community get to know you. So if you're a little concerned about this or that, you can call them and say, hey, can you check on this? That sort of thing. But yeah, it's the still be on speaking terms part of it that is really the challenge. I mean, the moving part is enough. And there are all kinds of practical things. Thank you so much. There are all kinds of I put every checklist from 12 years that we use in the company. I adapted it for you regular human beings out there who don't do this day in, day out. And then I would say it's as much about those practical logistics it's as much about the emotional logistics as it is about those practical logistics. It's how do you deal with those, start those conversations, some conversation starters. Sometimes the holidays are a good time too, because, there's not an obvious feeling of history there, but there are these traditions which are part of history that you usually have within a family. And it's a good time to reminisce and to gently start the conversation. Mom and Dad, where do you see, how do you want to be living your lives like 5 to 10 years from now? What does that look like for you? Right. And so kind of start with some of the broader strokes over the holidays, because you want to enjoy the holidays too. Don't worry about the details in these first conversations. Start to get an idea, and then slowly just start having that, having deeper conversations, more detailed conversations. Now, sometimes you can't wait for that. Something happens. Dad gets a dementia diagnosis, mom has a heart attack, and what do? That's when you wish you'd had all these discussions. But then everything just really has to move at a rapid pace, and then you really do need to get professionals involved, right, especially if they don't have an estate plan. I mean, you know that so well, all too well, especially when home kind of becomes the enemy to their new body situation and a physical condition.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I think the house that's appropriate stops becoming appropriate. In our case, master bedroom upstairs, and works well now for us. It's kind of like forced exercise. But once one of us slip and hurt ourselves, God forbid, it's going to be over. I can say I want to be there for a while. But the truth is, God forbid, when one of us hurt ourselves on that, and I slept 15 years ago. I was young. I ran up, I slept, and fell down, hurt my back. But something happened at this age. We're going to be forced to make a decision. And we're not willing to make that decision today. We're like that case, that family. We're just waiting to happen. Something's happened to be, you got to move. Well, I don't want to move. Well, I don't want to move. I can't go up the stairs anymore. Well, what are we going to do? So those are things that are challenging on the real estate side. I often get brought in when the decision's already been made. And people specialize in helping you involved beforehand. And that's why I'm really glad to have you and learn about this. So let's talk about. There are times in your business where you say to yourself, "I'm glad that you're not doing this on the own." Give me an example of one of those.
Well, it's frequently, especially in emergencies like this, when something really drastic health-wise has happened. And so the family is contending with that, or someone has passed away. Something severe has happened. And so the family is already completely rattled by that. And then there is something that has to happen with all the personal property. Usually the structure of the property too, which is what you handle, Bill. But something suddenly has to happen. And then the thing is, all this, again, museum of memories, all these memories, the acreage of memories, I call it in the book. There's so much, and each one just kind of reverberates with the memory of either the memory of the person who's passed on, or the person who they're trying to keep alive or keep healthy. And so that whole mess of emotions is going on, and it's an honor to be brought in and to be there to sit there and help them, gently guide them through it. It's not about making people, you have to, let go of this, you have to do that, but really guiding them through the questions. And then when you can see that they're kind of stuck on something, to be able to say, okay, let's, we can keep that. We can keep that item. That's not a problem. This is a lot to go through. How are you feeling? Are you tired? This is tough. And getting them to talk about it is very therapeutic. We're not therapists, but we do hear a lot of very emotional stories and try to help guide people through them and keep them moving forward so they don't get stuck and get bitter about things. So that's really wonderful when that can happen. Same thing with a massive hoarding situation, where someone who has created a hoarding situation and has been living in it, is very wary of anybody coming in because they figure they're going to be very judgmental or tell them what to do. And when they realize that's not the point, there's no judgment here. We're just here to help them figure out what to do with this so that they can live more comfortably. And I can think of a mother-daughter situation years ago. I think the parents both tended to hoard, but after the husband passed, it got even worse. And so the mother was so reluctant to even let us in the carport and it was a bad hoarding situation. And so we got in there and she worked, she started to trust more and then let us in the house. And the house, it was squalor. There was the hoarder's nest, as they call it. The plumbing was shot. The stairs were rickety. The electricity was jury rigged. It was awful. And she got to the point, though, after working with us for a couple of months, it does take that long, she didn't stop needing to be there when our team was there, which was such a compliment that she trusted us so much. And I remember getting an email from her daughter a few months afterwards. And she said, not only did you transform my mother's life, you transformed the life of the whole family, because she really knit herself back into the life of their family. Whereas before, when she was in the hoarding situation, kept herself apart. So when that happens, you realize how much you get to transform people's lives sometimes. It's just extraordinary.
So I really appreciate going these details with you, and you're just a fountain of knowledge. You're literally an author and a book on the subject. But at the same time, you're also a businesswoman who builds a business and has to develop business and keep her staff busy and paid and profitable enterprise while she runs business.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about your business development. What do you do to generate business and to keep relationships or build relationships to help build your business to grow?
Well, for one thing, find great people to bring on board on your company. Be patient with hiring. Make sure they have empathy. That's the hard skill. We can teach anybody how to pack and do the other logistics. It's, can they see it from the other person's point of view and really listen to them and understand? And in realty, that is so important, because you've got to, because even without the personal property in the home, even if the home is empty, selling it is such a big deal. And there are so many emotions attached. So it's the empathy. So hiring great people who really care about the work, number one. Do a great job, number two, because then what happens, and this is where we are now after 12 and a half years of doing this, is that it's mostly referrals. Some people find us online, some people through the book, but primarily it's just not only from former clients, but also from estate planning attorneys and fiduciaries, senior living communities, realtors like yourself, of course, especially those who work specifically with older adults. So you want to get to know people, get out there and network, go to networking events. That's a wonderful way to build it. And also, don't be shy about referring business to other people or introducing, say, an estate planning attorney to a CPA who works with a lot of people who are older, because they can do business together. Right. That's a good way to do it too. And then they remember that you've been making great introductions for them. So, the great thing is get to know people and be friendly. And when you're working with clients, just do a great job.
So at this stage of your career, obviously doing real well. Do you still have the focus on business development? What percentage of your work is developing business with your referral sources or creating new ones versus managing the business you have currently?
Well, I'm like, thank goodness. Okay, backtracking a little bit, talking about dealing with stairs. Almost 2 years ago, I broke my left ankle and my left wrist and my left foot. And talk about dealing with stairs and how that became a nightmare. My business could have fallen apart during that time because I really couldn't do it. I literally lost the use of the left side of my body, basically. And thankfully, my business could kind of run itself. So that's where you want to get with your business, ideally, is where, especially the day-to-day, I have this amazing client success and operations manager, Vanessa Clark. She's wonderful. And then I have my great project managers. I do, we use Slack for team communication. I read I always scan everything, but they've got this unless they need me specifically for something. I do get out and I definitely still network. I'm part of a big group called Provisors, and that's wonderful. Percentage of time. It's not a huge percentage of time at this point. 15, 20% maybe. And then there's always the finance side and the human resources side and the insurance side and all that fun stuff I've got to deal with. There's that. But I'm also launching a new venture. Unfortunately, this is what it gives you time for. And instead of go on vacation, it's I have this new idea for a company. HY's Alliance, which you and I've talked about before. And so developing that, which it has now, in addition to having the glossary of professions, it has the directory of professionals. I'm also implementing 2 new parts of it. We're starting to beta test. There is the ability to go in there, because so often, when the proverbial poo hits the fan, no one knows what to do. No one knows what do I do? Medically, you have your doctors to guide you, but what about everything else? Legal, financial, senior living communities, real estate is key, care and wellness. So you can go in and into the Age-Wise guide and start answering questions. And based on the answers to your questions, at the end, it gives you a guide of the professionals who you should be contacting now and what they do, so that you have a compass where you need to go. Additionally, we're adding, speaking of Slack, a communications hub that is like Slack, where you can create a private family forum where you can make decisions together, message each other, have different discussion areas about things, upload files, keep track of appointments, have emergency contact. So it's your family communications hub. Wow. So these are all such necessary things for people. So my goal with Age-Wise Alliance is for it to be the place where people go to deal with their later life matters. So I'm spending a chunk of time on that.
Okay, that's related. So I appreciate hearing that. So how do you see automation, artificial intelligence, such important topics business-wise today, so dramatic nationally? How is it or is it affecting your operations as a company and your interaction with your customers?
Well, we're kind of lucky because we have such specific in-person services. We're AI proof. So unfortunately, website developers, a lot of email marketers, AI is very threatening to their profession. It's going to be a lot of change up in the next 10 years to come, that's for sure. Now, in terms of implementing it, one thing with Age-Wise Alliance is that for the guide, it was suggested to me to just use AI and have AI find the answers and put it together. And I was not satisfied. I did not want to do that because AI, as they say, hallucinates. It makes up things. And people who don't know what to do would not know that. So what's important is I realized I had to not use AI, maybe to behind the scenes, put the pieces together for the guide to show it to people. But in terms of the decision making after people answer the questions, that's based on my 12 years experience. And so all those suggestions are from me. So it's tricky because I want to automate workflows. I want to automate some, simple customer requests and support questions, ideally, and maybe set up some flows for creating email blasts and compiling them, sending them out. Sure, that automation. But in terms of that human touch that is so important to what you and I do, you can't replace human beings. Bytes and binary code don't have the human experience to respond in depth to what people ask. That's how I feel. But how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I would say the same. I'd say the technology can turbocharge our time with person interaction by eliminating a lot of things that we otherwise do at our desk or do at computers. But there's no substitute for talking to me personally, talking personally to the customer. The more that happens, the more we win. And there's no competition to that. It allows you to grow and develop your skills to do with that. So
yeah, because there are online platforms like that can claim that they can do sell your home for you, but they're not going to do it with the detail that you do, and also understand the underpinnings of the market in this moment the way that you do, and also know how to negotiate. I often feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I often feel like those kinds of sites want to go for the they won't get the highest dollar amount for you. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I would say that online companies by their nature don't be held accountable to customer service standards. Your problem is if you do a bad job, your customer is going to call you. So you avoid that problem by doing a good job. If you're Google or Facebook or some online service and you're right 95% of the time, you make enough money where the other 5% you don't care. That's why when any of us have problems with Facebook or Google, there's nothing you can do. That's what they live for. And we all know, I've met real estate agents and mortgage professionals in particular who try to hide behind the technology. And, they want chatbots to answer questions with their prospective customers. Why would I want somebody who wants to do business with me talking to a chatbot? They want to talk to me. I'm not that busy where I can't talk to a prospective customer. Now, maybe
Right.
certain types, yes, but attorneys, no. Of course, I want you to talk to me. So I think that there are people looking to find the easy way out, and they're going to be replaced. And those of us who are want to take on the work and looking for solving customer problems will have more tools with which to solve customer problems. I'll share with you a story for anybody listening. So I play with AI every day for about half an hour just to learn the tools and systems. So common experience as a listing agent is I get an offer with all kinds of documents and backup documents. So I wanted to create a tool where I could forward that to AI and say, list the forms and which boxes are checked and which ones are not checked and summarize it for me. And if I get multiple offers, I could make a spreadsheet with it. So I got an offer in. It was amazing how I took all the forms and made a list of all the forms and had check boxes listed. And it looked great. I was so excited. And so I'm getting ready to call the customer about this particular offer. And I noticed, I go, let me just double check this. And, one of the key forms is there's a probate purchase addendum. You either check the box or you don't, either include it or you don't. And the AI had said that they had checked it and it was included. But I noticed it wasn't included. Something I just noticed real quick. Hold it. I don't see that. Where is that form? And I realized that the AI didn't see it. It wasn't checked on the form, but it, I think, wanted to get the right answer. So I put yes, because it should have been included. So I put yes. Well, maybe that's right if you're taking a test, but if you're really selling a house, that's the wrong answer and could get you in trouble legally. So I think, and then I talked to an attorney, he said, well, you just have to check everything yourself. Okay, so then what time are you really saving? Because if I have to check everything myself, what's the AI really doing for me at that point? So it's one of those things where it sounds, great. And I'm sure for certain things, it's life-changing. But for what I do, still, the core things that require my attention still require my attention.
Yeah, the human touch. Yeah, it's one of these days AI may get to the point where it can do what you were asking it to, something like that, because binary code and bytes should be able to figure that out, like checking. It's almost like it's like correcting a test you take in school, right? But in terms of it's just that human part of it.
Right. I would think that before I figure it out, the software companies that I work with that do transactions or the forms will figure out how to harness AI, and they'll be able to do that for me. And so if they're not, they're going to get replaced. That's not really my role. My role is not to learn how to do that. My role is to learn how to use the tool effectively when it's available. But I don't think it's my job to develop. I want to be a software developer. It's just not my passion in life.
No.
But I like playing with it. I do think it's an important skill to have. So I would urge everybody at least to take time to learn about how to use this.
You want to be on top of it.
So let's talk about the business, because business overview, like me, you're in West Los Angeles area, marketplace, right? And so
In Los Angeles.
on one hand, we're blessed with high sales prices. On the other hand, our sales are off 30% by unit count. That means our colleagues, my business is great, but there's 30% less real estate agents because so many have gone out of business but not selling houses. We have clients who are making money in their houses. We have other clients who lost their homes to the fires. So where do you see, as a businesswoman, your business over the next 5 years, given the environment, given the economy? Or how do you plan for it, or do you just not get that involved in it and work on it day by day?
In terms of the future, I'm lucky. Our company is lucky because for the next, there are, the statistic, 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every single day. And that started in 2012. It'll go through about 2032. So we're going to keep having people getting older. That's not going to be an issue, at least until 2040. So in terms of helping older adults and their families, that market is going to be there. Now, more people, people don't know. Actually, what inspired Age-Wise Alliance was several years ago. I was thinking, nobody knows what senior move managers do. How do I get the word out? And then I realized people don't know who geriatric care managers are or aging life care specialists. They don't know the difference between a probate attorney and maybe a trust administration attorney. And I realized there are so many services, patient advocates that people don't know about, and they need to. It can make their lives so much easier, especially with the later life issues. And so that's how AgeWise Alliance came into being. And so with senior move management in general, it's a business that's been an industry that's been in its nascency. We're about 20 years old or so. Excuse me. I'm actually president of our national association, and we just had our 20th anniversary conference last year. Yeah, but the word is getting out about our industry. And what inevitably happens with an industry, as you know, is that as it matures, people come in and try to commoditize it. In other words, try to sell it for less, like go only for price, which sacrifices a lot of services and a lot of expertise. And I think we can definitely safeguard against that. But there's also consolidation, which means that, bigger entities are buying up smaller companies. And that is definitely happening. No bigger entity has been able to do it very successfully. Again, because it's so high touch.
Correct.
And it's hard to maintain the quality of that. But there's somebody coming into the arena, Matt Paxton, who thankfully, I'm lucky. He's my buddy. So we talk about this stuff all the time. But he is going national slowly, bit by bit, with his own larger company with franchises. And so that's an example, and people will copy that. So that's what I need to consider with Clear Home Solutions. I thought about franchising years ago. I don't want to do it. Especially in Los Angeles, I like keeping us not too big, because then again, finding the right people for it keeps our company the quality company that it is. We care about quality so much. It's tricky to replicate that in a bigger way. It's very difficult to do, but those are the things that I concern myself with. And so, and especially with commoditization, with the lower pricing, I know we cannot, because we are an investment, we acknowledge that, but we can, all my companies are employees, we're completely insured, including workers' comp, and just the level of experience and training that we do. So I know how to explain our differentiation in that way. So we'll see what happens with the consolidation and that sort of thing. It'd be interesting. How about you?
Well, I would say for both of us, there's always room for high quality service. And I think as long as I am one who's able to be a resource to families and attorneys and specialists on navigating probate real estate, but I have to stay on my game, and I'm constantly trying to learn, meet with people, network, add services. And I enjoy doing that. I think that's the key part also is I'm not looking for the easy way out. I'm looking to be the best at what I do. And I'm not there maybe yet today, but I'm better today than I was yesterday, and I'll be better tomorrow.
Yep.
That's all I can really control. It's just trying to prove it every day. So I think as long as you do that in real estate or any other business, at some point, if you're successful, at some point you'll continue to grow. And not really worry about the competition, because there's so many people who are going to fail behind me that, I want to help people, and I do a lot of coaching, but I don't necessarily worry about it. I really try to focus on the things I have to worry about, which is what I do. Meeting the Marty Stephens of the world and Clear Home Solutions, and staying with the good vendors and knowing who the good people are, and trying to talk about them and associate with them and promote them. And that's how it works out for me.
Yeah. And have you written a book yet?
I've not. I've thought about it. I've written out a couple times.
I'm telling you, you know what's hilarious? It's like, it's not like it's the New York Times bestseller for 6 weeks. No, it's not. But it's just so funny how you write a book and people say, "Oh, you wrote a book." They're so impressed. And does it take work? You bet. Yeah. But it's so worth doing as a professional, because you get more speaker opportunities. And plus for me, it was a great experience to kind of just revisit all my old stories, put them down somewhere. I know this will be there. Yeah, you can do it. I know you can, and it'd be really worthwhile. Every so often I meet people, I'm like, oh, even with, all these podcasts you've done, use them to put the book together. Anyway. I
did actually, and I created an outline, and I think part of it is I don't want speaking gigs. I was invited to a convention this year. It was a lot of fun. It was in Irvine. I don't really want to travel. I work hard when I work, and I'm done at 4:30 today. I'm going to play my grandkids. That's about as much as I want to do. If I was speaking out of state somewhere, I'd be missing them. So, but I do like the online part, and the podcast has fulfilled that creative outlet for me. But I can see the advantage of a book. I think it forces you to clarify your thoughts in a way that a podcast does not. So I've played with it. I've gotten close a few times. We'll see.
All
I haven't
right.
had the calling to do it like I did the podcast. Doing this is so much fun that I
Yeah, it
enjoy
is.
this. And I
Yeah.
do a couple of these a day. So,
Well, you're
Marty,
great at it. So
well, this is fun. I tell people I work in a coal mine. I just talk to people, great successful business people on the phone, on a video for half an hour, and that's work. So if I do that, it all works out. Maya, it's always a pleasure chatting and catching up with you. I just thank you so much for all you bring. For those who want more of her, the website is clearhomesolutions.com. And
hmm
there's all kinds of content and ways to reach her, and you can get a appointment, get things started, get a price consultation, and then her book is on Amazon, How to Move Your Parents and Still Be on Speaking Terms. Now that's assuming that they're still with us. My parents are gone, so I don't want to be on speaking
yeah.
terms anymore with my parents. I want to be on memory terms with them. But
But
anyhow,
it can still help you with the practical logistics. And I address that, and I address after someone's passed a little bit in the book too. Yeah,
but also I could be the parents, and I want my daughter to speak to us as well. So I think that's part of it is,
yeah.
and it's a challenge. We're experiencing that challenge already. My wife and daughter sometimes go at it, and I'm in the middle. I'm sometimes glad my daughter and wife are fighting. Neither's fighting with me. I'm kind of happy to settle, but that's not the way it is.
You're
My,
Switzerland.
I
Yes.
try to be. It doesn't really work that way. Then they're both mad at me for not defending them. So that's a whole nother dynamic. Marty, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for all you do and for your education and for being honest today. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. You're just great.
And for everybody else, this is Probate Weekly. We get together every week and talk to either probate attorneys or vendors to help us be more successful in our business. Hopefully today we learned, number one, a great resource if you know somebody who needs that help moving families out of their current house into other facilities, as well as a business professional who's successful to teach us how to be more successful in our business. You can continue the conversation on our Facebook group, probateweekly.com on Facebook, looking for referrals, questions. Feel free, if you're an attorney or a real estate agent, to look for vendors there as well. If I can help, at Bill Gross Probate on social media, as always, I'm here to be of assistance. Did you like the episode? You know somebody I should interview? Put that in the comments. As always, if I can help, reach out at Bill Gross Probate. Have best day ever. Thank you so much.